video, I'm going to show you how to remove distracting elements from a photo using 3 different techniques. The first 2 techniques will help you with basic object removals, but with the third technique, we're really going to get our hands dirty and tackle a complicated task, but I'm going to divide it up into small digestible chunks so that you can follow along. Okay, let's get started. We're going to work with this image. We have a couple walking on the beach and we have a photo bomber, and if we wanted to remove this photo bomber from the photo, we could do so very, very easily. First, duplicate the layer to work non-destructively. You can press Ctrl J, Command J on the Mac, and we can call that layer Edit. Then you can select the lasso tool, and with the lasso tool, we can just simply freehand a selection. So we're going to freehand a selection around the photo bomber. And it doesn't have to be very precise, as long as you go around her. But having said that, try to keep as much of the original background as you can. So you can hold Alt, Option on the Mac, and click and drag to subtract from the selection. And by the way, if you hold Shift, you add to the selection. And once again, Alt, Option on the Mac, and click and drag, you subtract from the selection. With the selection active, you can go into Edit, Fill, and we're going to select Content Aware from the drop-down, and make sure that you have Color Adaptation checked, and press OK. Then I'm going to press Ctrl D, Command D to deselect, and notice that almost like magic, Photoshop removes that photo bomber. And the way that the Content Aware technology works is by analyzing the pixels that are surrounding the selection. And it uses that information to generate the pixels that are going to go inside of the selection. So Photoshop does a great job in guessing what will be behind this person. And this technique works best with a simple background like the one we have in this example. So that's before and after. And by the way, if you're interested to find out more about the Content Aware technology, I made a series of videos dealing with all the different tools that use Content Aware, including the Content Aware Fill. If you're interested in watching that series, I'll post a link down below in the description. So for the next example, we're going to use this image here of Venice, and I'm going to zoom in. And what we want to do is remove this group of people that are sitting here. So what I could do is I could try to do what I just did. You use the Content Aware Fill. But as you will see, it won't give us the results that we're looking for. So let me just make a really quick selection and go into Edit, Fill, Content Aware. And notice that Photoshop didn't do that good of a job this time. It included elements that I do not want to have in the photo. So I'm going to press Ctrl Alt Z, Command Option Z on the Mac to undo. And actually, to work non-destructively, I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to press Ctrl J, Command J on the Mac. And we're going to use a different tool. And the tool that we're going to use is this tool here called the Patch tool, which is nested under the Spot Healing Brush tool. Also, make sure that Normal and Source are selected. Then I'm going to click and drag and make a selection around the pixels that I want to replace. With the selection active, I'm going to zoom out and look for an area to sample from. So it looks like this area is very similar to the area where they're sitting on. So I'm going to click and drag over to that side, and you can see the preview inside of the selection, and I can try to match it as best as I can. When I'm happy with the area, I can just release and then press Ctrl D, Command D to deselect, and notice that Photoshop did a much better job. The reason that I didn't select this side here is that there's a shadow from this lamppost, so I didn't want to duplicate that. The edit wasn't perfect, and it was mainly because I didn't drop the selection in the right area. So I can try that again. Let me click and drag and just try to get a better, closer match. So maybe something like that. Control D, Command D to deselect. So that looks much better. The bricks align better. There's issues like this area here, but we could easily fix these issues by just using the patch tool on those specific areas. Then I can double click on the hand tool, zoom out, and you can see the before and the after. Another tool that I want to show you before we move on into the more complicated example is the Clone Stamp tool, which simply allows you to paint in duplicate pixels from another area. So with that tool selected, I'm going to zoom in and create a new layer to work non-destructively. And with this layer, I can make sure that current and below are selected, or all layers. It really doesn't matter in this example, so I'll leave it on current and below. Then I can just select areas to copy pixels from. So if I wanted to remove this lamppost, I can start maybe in this corner here, and then use the bracket keys on the keyboard to increase the size of my brush, and I can try to align what I just copied, what I just sampled, this area here, and align it to the other window, and then I can paint in those pixels like so. And I know I'm getting a little of the shadow, but that's okay. And then I can sample from a different area, maybe this area here, and align it as best as I can, and paint away the rest of the lamp, like so. And I'm not going to spend too much time in this example because the example that I really want to show you is the one after this. But you can see how you can start painting things away non-destructively using the clone stamp tool. And this is basically what we did in just a couple minutes. Really quickly, we were able to remove that lamppost. And there's a couple of details there that, again, we're not going to spend the time on now because I want to spend more time in the next example. So those are the basic steps for removing a distracting object from a photo. Please let me know in the comments below what you learned by watching this video. And don't forget to click on that subscribe and notification buttons. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.